Yo, welcome to Walker's Wave Show featuring one and only Mr. Walker. Today we're going over um, how to get waves from scratch. What I mean from scratch is that if we're bald and we're growing our hair for the first time, but we usually keep our hair bald, what to do for waves as soon as you start to see hair. Okay, the first thing that you need to start doing is that you need to start brushing. You need to go and pick you up like a medium or a soft brush. No need for anything harder than that because we're not trying to damage the scalp or irritate it, okay? The next thing that you need to do is you need to identify what type of pattern that we're going for. Now, there's a lot of different patterns out there, but it's best to go with your true wave pattern. Now, how do I find my true wave pattern, Brandon? Okay, well, first of all, we're going to look towards your crown where your hair starts to grow, and we're going to see what direction our hair is going. So, identifying the crown. Now, the crown is where our hair starts to grow in the middle of our head, primarily where we start to go bald at. Okay? So, as you can see, if you look closely enough, you can see that my hair starts from right here and it goes 360 around and around and around and around. So that's your natural hair pattern. Okay. Now, if you want to do a different pattern, you can. I don't recommend changing the crown up too much because when you start to change your crown up, that's when you have a tendency to have a bald spot with waves, which is not really wanted in the wave community. So, if your crown is showing more than you would like, you can always change that up by your hair length as you get more into waving once your hair reaches a certain length. Or you can just continue to brush in a way that will cover up your weak spots as your hair gets longer. So if we notice that our hair is thinning out in different areas, it might not be such a big deal once we have more hair to cover up the spots that we're having problems with. And then we can go ahead and occupy that with a wave pattern that suits what we're trying to do. But it all goes with this brush, okay? However your waves are going to be like is going to be determined by how you brush. So right now, a lot of people saying, hey Walker, you're gonna change your pattern up. You're gonna go for the beehive. You're gonna go for something else. You're gonna go for this. You're gonna go for that. No, there's nothing to really do. I'm not going against my natural hair pattern. I feel that's not as beneficial as just staying natural with my natural hair and my natural waves flow. Because I notice I take a lot of pictures of myself. That's how you get better. I take a lot of videos of the game that I play. So when I lose, I try to go back and figure out, why I lost that fight. So it's the same thing when you're in a wave game. You're fighting forks. You're fighting bad hair days. So you want to make sure how you can get better so you can have less bad hair days. If that makes sense. So it's always a constant. That's why when you stay natural, it's always a constant journey to eliteness, because every day is going to be a battle. Every day is going to be a battle. We live every single day. You only die once. That's it. So every day you live, you're fighting something. So just make sure you win, so you can fight another day. Because once you die, that's it. Once the hair is gone, it's gone. So if you have hair now and you want waves, start fighting now. So once you start to see hair at this length, start brushing it now. So as we're going on the crown, y'all see it's a little bit of a bald spot there. That's not a big deal. Okay, that's just my natural hair pattern. Okay, the bald spot can be covered up depending on how I cut my hair and or how long I leave my crown. So another thing that I see a lot of guys doing is they start using pomade right now. Now, does pomade get you waves? No, they don't. Pomade doesn't get you waves. What it does is that it holds your hair down so that it looks more wavy without brushing or maintaining. So it's kind of a shortcut to not being able to brush. So what I'm saying is that if we don't have waves yet, if we don't have any form of waves at all, pomade is not best for your hair right now for waves. The only thing that's going to get your waves, your hair wavy, is the brush. Putting on grease on my scalp right now is going to inhibit the brush from doing its job of producing new waves and new ropes, because your hair is going to be laid down from grease. It's going to make it harder for this to touch the source, and that's the hair. So if the brush is not going to be able to touch the source and make things wavy, I don't care what grease you use. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you're going to be diminishing your brush pattern because you have grease on your scalp, which means that the brush is not really doing its job. So by the time we get into week 4 or 6, we're already looking at forks. We're already having problems with our design. Why? Make sure we're not using grease too early. Now, once your pattern is set, you have a foundation, everything is looking good to you, that's where the grease can help. If we can't brush that day, if we don't have time to be in the mirror so much that hour, that's where the pomade will help hold the hair down at a certain length. Right now, for waves, at this hair length, all you need is a brush. That's it. You want to make sure your scalp is healthy. So I have other videos about how to make your scalp healthy. You're going to use, natural oils, shea butter. It's good for the skin, so it's not really going to inhibit your scalp as much than a grease would. Because at least, the shea butter will lay your hair down, but not as much as grease would. And on top of that, you're going to get the scalp beneficial properties of using shea butter, which will help out, a lot of forks, nicks, and knacks. Another good tip with the shea butter is using it on your front ends. You see how my hair is getting thin towards the front ends? A lot of that has to do with getting fades and tapers and constantly irritating the scalp with bad hairlines. That's why it's so important not to irritate your scalp. If your scalp becomes irritated, hair doesn't want to grow there. If hair doesn't want to grow there, we're going to be missing some patches of hair here and there. That's not good for a wave design. Okay? So keep that in mind, fellas. When you go get them tapers, when you go get them lines up all the time, if you want to stay fresh, lined up all the time, when you cut, if you take your hairline back and you cut more and more and more, it's going to take longer for your hair to come back because the scalp is irritated. So you really want to be careful with that, if we're in our 20s and 30s. You don't want to keep taking that hair back. It's going to be harder for it to keep growing. That's why I kind of cut my hair just to get a simple test on if my scalp is healthy, because I've used a lot of products. I was a product junkie once I was done with the natural wave process. So I tried a lot of different things out. Some worked, some didn't. Some made my waves better. Some made them a little worse. So, it's a lot of trial and error to this wave stuff. But the number one thing that I want to get before I end this video is that if you're starting out with waves at this process of your hair or at this hair length, nothing, and I mean nothing, is going to get you waves except for the brush. So keep the brush moving. Well, hope y'all learned something. You know what I mean? Hope y'all, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at Walker's Waves. A lot of motivational stuff, video game stuff that I'll be posting up on there and stuff. And remember, keep the brush moving. Keep that brush moving. You can do it. Walker knows the way.